You know, some things just, they're not supposed to shake, right? Think about a massive bridge, or a skyscraper, or even a pipeline deep under the sea. But what if the very air or water flowing past them could start a vibration so powerful that it literally tears them apart?
I'm sure you've seen those terrifying videos online. You know, a bridge just swaying like crazy in the wind, almost like it's alive, and then it just collapses. So what is going on there? It's not just the wind being super strong. No, it's something way more subtle and honestly a lot more dangerous.
So, let's dive in. Let's talk about this dangerous dance, this invisible force that can bring down a bridge. All right, the main culprit here has a name: Vortex-Induced Vibration, or VIV for short. Just picture it. As wind or water flows past something like a round bridge support, it doesn't just flow smoothly. It creates these little swirls, these little whirlpools called vortices, and they peel off, first one side, then the other, back and forth. This creates a kind of rhythmic push-pull, and that's what gets the structure shaking. Now, most of the time, this shaking is, well, it's no big deal. It's just a little annoying. But every now and then, something way more sinister happens. It's a state called lock-in. And this is where things get really dangerous. It's when the structure's own natural rhythm, the way it wants to sway, syncs up perfectly with the rhythm of those vortices peeling off. The swing analogy is perfect here. It's like pushing a kid on a swing, but you push at exactly the right moment, every single time. Each push adds more energy, and the swing goes higher and higher and higher. That's lock-in. And those vibrations can grow to absolutely catastrophic levels. So what's the real difference here? Well, with a normal vibration, you've got a pretty small shake, right? Low amplitude, and the timing's all over the place. It's unpredictable, it's annoying, but it's usually safe. But with lock-in, oh man, the amplitude is huge, the shaking is violent, and the frequency is perfectly synchronized. That's what creates the potential for a total, catastrophic failure. This is the stuff of nightmares for engineers.
Okay, so if lock-in is so incredibly dangerous, you'd think we'd be pretty good at predicting it, right? Well, that's where this whole story turns into a scientific mystery. To get what's going on, you need to know about the two main tools scientists were using. First, you've got something called linear stability analysis, or LSA. The best way to think of this is like the blueprint. It's a theoretical model that predicts whether a system should be stable or unstable on paper. Then you've got the other tool, direct time integration, or DTI. This is the full-blown simulation. It's a super powerful computer model that shows how the system actually behaves in the real world with all the messy details included. And right away, there was a huge problem, a massive contradiction. The blueprints, the LSA, was basically screaming danger all the time. It predicted the system would be unstable almost no matter what. But the simulation, the DTI, told a totally different story. It showed the really, really dangerous lock-in that only happened in one very specific, very narrow zone. The theory was basically crying wolf, and nobody knew why.
So that's the big question, right? If the theory, the blueprint, says this thing is always on the edge of disaster, then why do we only see these catastrophic failures in very specific situations? What was the theory missing? What was the piece that everyone was overlooking?
Well, it turns out the answer was hiding in the vibration itself, because you see, not all vibrations are created equal.
The researchers started to realize that the vibration we see isn't just one simple thing. It's not just a single back and forth shake. It's more like a cocktail, a mix of different types of vibrations happening all at once. They call these modes, and each mode has its own unique characteristics, almost like they have their own little personalities. And they basically sorted these modes into two big families. First, you've got what they call decoupled modes. This is where the fluid and the structure are kind of doing their own thing. They're acting independently. Then you have the coupled modes. And this is where it gets really interesting. Here, the fluid and the structure are so tangled up, so intertwined, that they create this weird, complex hybrid vibration. Okay, so now we have our list of suspects, right? We've got all these different modes of vibration. But the million-dollar question is, which one of them is the real villain? Which one is the culprit that's actually causing the destructive lock-in? To find their culprit, the researchers had to follow the trail of one last crucial clue. You know how they say, follow the money? Well, in this case, it was follow the energy, and that's how they were finally going to crack this case. So what was it? What was that missing piece of the puzzle that connected a simple, unstable vibration to a full-blown catastrophic failure? What they came up with was this new metric called the energy ratio, or ER for short. And it's one of those ideas that is so brilliant because it's so simple. All it does is measure one thing. Of all the energy in a vibration, what percentage of it is actually concentrated inside the structure itself, and how much of it is just swirling around in the wind or water outside. And this was the breakthrough, the simple, elegant answer to the whole mystery. It turns out, destructive lock-in only happens when two things are true. One, the vibration mode has to be unstable. We knew that. But two, and this is the key, its energy ratio has to be above a certain critical point. See, it's not enough for a system to just be unstable. The energy from that instability has to be actively pumped into the structure itself. This chart really says it all. Look, if you have a low energy ratio, sure, there's a vibration, but most of that energy just kind of dissipates harmlessly into the air or water around it. No big deal. But if you have a high energy ratio, all that unstable energy gets funneled directly into the structure, and that's what causes those huge, violent, dangerous oscillations. That is the lock-in danger zone. So armed with this brand new understanding of energy, the mystery was basically solved. Now we can talk about how this discovery actually leads to building safer stuff in the real world. And just like that, the mystery was solved. You see, the old theory wasn't actually wrong. It was just incomplete. It was great at spotting when a system became unstable, but the key insight, the game changer, was realizing it's not just about if a system is unstable, it's about where the energy of that instability is concentrated. And this is a huge deal. This matters so much because this new energy rule finally gives engineers a tool to predict which of those unstable vibrations are going to become the truly dangerous ones. It lets them design safer bridges, taller towers, deeper pipelines, you name it. It's the key that distinguishes a harmless little flutter from a destructive lock-in. And it finally explains why the simple theory and the complex simulations didn't used to agree. When you boil it all down, it really comes to this one powerful idea. The key to stopping these catastrophic failures, it wasn't just about understanding stability anymore. It was about understanding energy. It's amazing, right? This research just brilliantly pulled back the curtain on one of nature's most destructive invisible forces. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible forces are out there shaping the world we build around us every single day?